Okay, so if you're watching this right now, chances are that you love car culture. And guess what? So do we. All over the world, you see different cultures popping up in different areas, like South Florida with its donks, supercars in LA, and bozozoku in Japan. But the one thing that unites us is our love for badass automobiles. And while we here at Ideal accept all kinds of car culture, I must say there are some trends that have no place in this world. So in this video, I'm gonna take you through 8 trends, 8 of them, that are ruining car culture. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. All right, buckle up and let's go. To paint or to wrap? That's the question. But these days it seems like there's only been one answer. Because is it just me or does no one paint their car anymore? Like, what's going on? Is a sick house of color paint job with custom graphics just not cool anymore? And look, I'm just as guilty as the next guy. I would argue that the wrap on my Porsche 911 looks pretty ideal. So how could I say that wraps are ruining car culture? Well, painting is a long and strenuous process that allows you to add a custom color and then layer it with gobs of clear coat. And what you end up with is something that's better than the factory put out initially. But can't wraps do that? Sorta. You see, wraps have certainly come a very long way since they first hit the market, but I will be the first to admit that they still don't look as good as new paint jobs. Professional wrappers take a car and wrap it, and a lot of the time it looks great, but it's pretty much just a big sticker. And sometimes, if not properly installed, it turns out like this. And how would you feel if you spent a few $1,000s on something like that turned out looking like that? I know I wouldn't, but paint does turn out bad every once in a while because maybe the paint gun isn't set up properly and your new paint has just a little too much orange peel, and we all know that isn't ideal. So yes, both methods do have their own flaws, but it seems like as of the last few years, people have been choosing wrap over paint time and time again. And that's pretty much because, well, it's cheaper. But as you know, cheaper doesn't always mean better. While a typical paint job could last 10 plus years, heck, the paint job that was done on the '68 Mustang California Special was done in the '80s. But a wrap job can only last a few years, and that's if you keep it out of the sun and you don't abuse it, which I may or may not have had a couple issues taking off the wrap on the 997 911. Yeah, that's not gonna buff out. Because one other costly issue with vinyl wrap is that if you're not careful taking off the wrap, you can pull off the clear coat like I did. Don't be like me. So even if wrap could be the cost-effective option early on, you may actually spend just as much money as painting it down the line if you're not careful and you damage the paint. But hey, I love vinyl wrap. Keep doing it. Keep modifying your car for you, because this next mod won't mess up your paint, but it can seriously have awful effects on your suspension. Can someone tell me why everyone is stancing their cars? Honestly, would you rather have this or this? I know which one I would choose. And if you're enjoying this video, hit that like button, helps the YouTube algorithm. We're trying to get to 24,815 likes because today it seems like it's almost a requirement to be hella flesh at a car meet. And I guess I just kind of like to go against the grain. But it seems like being unique and different is being completely replaced with hella flesh fever. Today, people with unique builds get turned away just because they don't have the proper fitment. And if you want to keep your stock E30 M3 the way it is, I say go for it. Not everybody wants to slam their Pandem widebody kit, and that right there is another fad that's impossible to get away from. Seems like I can't look in the rearview mirror anymore without seeing a Pandem widebody kit, which takes up like the whole rearview mirror, you know, because it's wide. And nowadays people are slapping on Pandem widebody kits literally on everything. Yeah, like I mean everything. From Skylines to Supras, from McLarens to your good old Mustangs, and from RX-7s to Rangers? Okay, I think you get the point. Just about anything and everything today is being wide-bodied. And after a while, they all kind of start looking the same to me. And the sad truth is that there isn't enough companies making unique wide-body kits. Don't get me wrong, the Pandem kit is definitely cool looking, but let me test you. You tell me the difference between this wide-body and this one. Be unique, people. And the more hyped these wide-body kits get, the more it seems like the prices are gonna continue to get driven up. And that's not just happening with the prices of wide bodies. That's happening with just good old cars as well. Does anybody remember when the legendary Mark IV Supra was going for roughly $20,000 to $30,000? Yeah, well, that was a few years back, and not today. Because today you'd be shelling out a heck of a lot more if you want to call one of those legends your own. But it's not just Supras anymore. It's 240s, it's Miatas, and it's S2000s as well. And it kind of dawned on me the other day, because usually you would think something that's older would usually be a lot less money, but 240Zs are trading hands for more than 350Zs. And now you can find S2000s for the price of Porsche 911. Sure, they are still great cars. I just miss the days when you could buy one without paying for the hype tax. And I have this thing that I do that anytime I drive a car, and you should do this as well, is figure out how much the car is actually worth, and then if it drives like a vehicle that's more expensive or less expensive than the price it goes for. For example, C6 Z06, you can get them for 30 grand, but I think it drives like a $60,000 sports car. A third gen Mazda Speed Miata, get one for 14 grand, drives more like a $10,000 sports car. You see, some cars just drive above their weight and some drive a little bit below. Not saying that the Miata is bad, but for 14 grand, I'd actually rather get an E36 M3 that's sorted, because that drives like a $20,000 sports car. I think you're picking up what I'm throwing down. And fortunately, there's still some great sleepers out there at affordable prices. But it just seems with the interwebs these days, and the amount of hype that's built around some of these JDM missiles, well, they are more collector items now than cars that you even want to put miles on. But what aren't collector items, at least for most people, are missiles. Yes, missiles. And no, I'm not talking about the instrument of death and destruction. Oh wait, I guess I kinda am. You see, missiles are cars that have been stripped out and modified solely for track use. So yeah, bye-bye safety features. And the most common missile that you're probably used to is the drift missile. And while they're meant for the track, a lot of people end up driving them on the street and to meets. And sometimes they end up just looking ridiculous. You see, missiles are set up for perfect asphalt conditions. No driveways, no speed bumps, no grocery carts to dodge at the racetrack. So imagine having to deal with all these imperfections in a car that is just not equipped to handle them. Well, people do it all too often, and it not only inconveniences them, but also all the other motorists around them. And I totally get it. If you want to stance your car or maybe even slap on a fart can, that is totally fine. But driving your missile down the road is not very safe. And sometimes it looks downright, well, ridiculous. And you know what else looks ridiculous? YouTubers. Yes, YouTubers making cars uncool. I think I'm guilty of this. Okay, I might start sounding like a hater in a second, but hear me out. A manual Lamborghini Murcielago. Very cool, right? I mean, who can't love that 2000 styling with those scissor doors? And then you have that high-strung exotic V12 paired to a manual transmission. But what about a Huracan? Yeah, an Audi R8 in sheep's clothing. Or no, in wolf's clothing. Sure, it's a cool Lambo. But so many YouTubers have bought them in the last couple of years that they're as common on the internet as a Camry. Or heck, they might even be more common than a Camry. Maybe that's what I should get next for the channel. And you wanna know something crazy? You can pick up a Murcielago or a Huracan for roughly the same price. And the first 2 years of the Murcielago, well, they only had manual transmissions. And if you want to help save the manuals, go snag our best-selling ILT. But that's pretty cool that you can shift your own gears in a manual V12. And I really think more and more YouTubers should make the jump into owning more exotic supercars. You see, the Lamborghini Huracan, well, it's pretty much just an Audi like I said earlier, and they are extremely reliable. Where the Mercy, well, it'll have you begging for mercy when you start seeing the repair bills on that thing, because, well, they are not all that reliable. And don't even let me get started on McLarens. You see, everybody and their mom seems to have a McLaren on YouTube these days. And the fact that every year a new model comes out, and it pretty much is the same as last year's model. For example, look at this 650S, which was built over 6 years ago. And then here's a brand new 570S. Yeah, I can't really tell the difference. In fact, I kind of think the 650S is a better looking car. And here's the thing, back in 2015, the McLaren 650S was the hottest thing since sliced bread. And now in 2021, if you don't have a McLaren 720S, you're old news. So my piece of advice for fellow YouTubers and just anybody that's lucky enough to be able to buy a supercar, remember, buy it for yourself, not for the YouTube, not for the Instagram, not for the interwebs, because it will be cool one year and not cool the rest of the years, but as long as you like it, well, that's pretty much priceless. And if you do buy a supercar or just a car in general, well, definitely don't PLASTIDIP it unless you know exactly what you're doing. Now, PLASTIDIPing isn't always bad, and it can be done right, and when it is, it looks really sweet. But doing it right is easier said than done, because a quick search on Google and you will see people botching PLASTIDIP jobs left and right. And if you really think that rattle canning your whole car with PLASTIDIP will come out like paint, well, I hate to tell you, but most of the time you're gonna be wrong. Last year when we bought the Gen 1 Viper that was PLASTIDIPed green, well, the PLASTIDIP down by the exhaust got so hot that it started peeling like snake skin. And so one piece of advice, if you're gonna PLASTIDIP your car or your wheels or your emblems for that matter, learn how to use it first. There's a ton of great tutorials on YouTube, and heck, Fonzie over at Dip Your Car is where I learned how to PLASTIDIP my wheels on my 997 when I couldn't afford aftermarket wheels, and I think they turned out fantastic. But trust me and don't show it off too much, because if you do, your freshly PLASTIDIPed car might just need some more work. And why do I feel like I need to talk about Mustang owners on this one? Because when leaving a car show, well, it is acceptable to give it some of the beans, but not all of the beans. Because you don't want to be the guy jumping curbs. You know who you are. And just because you have 4 wheels and all-wheel drive doesn't mean you're invincible either. So don't drive faster than your angels can fly. Please don't. Because you're not only endangering yourself, the car, but also the people around you. Plus, one thing I've never really understood, and maybe you can let me know down in the comments, why people hoon when they leave a car meet, because not only are your tires ice cold, but your engine is also gonna be cold. So if you were a true enthusiast, wouldn't you warm up the engine and then also warm up your tires before you did any kind of enthusiastic driving? Yeah. Doesn't make sense to me either. And heck, the ideal tip of the day, if your car is older than 2008, you probably don't have TPMS, which is tire pressure monitoring systems. So check the air pressure in your tires every once in a while, like once a month, just to make sure that there's still air in there. Last time I checked, air is pretty cheap. But if you're driving on a flat tire, well, and something happens, it can get expensive real quick. And guys, those are some of the trends that, well, we kind of think that are giving gearheads a bad name. And if you enjoyed the vid, please hit the like button and check out some of our other Ideal content. And also, if you're new here, please subscribe and keep living the ideal lifestyle.